Welcome back to TELOS. I'm Louis, and by choosing to watch this podcast, you've decided to spend your time doing something a little more intentional. I'm a person who loves having conversations with people and finding out how they have lived, learnt, failed, rebuilt, reflected. Maybe they've had things done to them, or they have done things themselves, which have given them a valuable set of insights and information to share with others. TELOS is about discovering purpose through honest conversation, reflection, and lived experience. In today's episode, I'm joined by Paul Highfield, a man with a property business who, in the 2008 financial crash, lost everything. And I mean everything. He's written a book, 0 to 100, which describes how he went from having less than zero back up to the major business which he now runs today. If that sounds interesting, stick around to find out what kept him going when most people would have quit. Before the businesses, before the setbacks, who were you before it all, and what did you think your life was going to look like?
Wow. Well, as a kid, I thought I was going to take over the world. I really did. I had so much ambition. Everything was so exciting. It's like when you're even a teenager. Everything's new, everything's exciting, going to work's exciting. I was often energised by seeing the boss turn up because I'm a builder by trade, and he would roll up in his Range Rover and Rolex. I thought, wow, this guy's incredible, whoever it may have been. And couldn't have been further from the truth. In reality, you just don't know who they are. But, the perception of doing well really drove me. And I always had energy from that. So, that's where I was. And
Did you take a lot of inspiration from people around you growing up?
I did, yeah. Biggest inspiration, my uncle. He's a builder. Was a builder. He's passed now, unfortunately. He was a builder. He moved to New Zealand, land of opportunity, as a bricklayer, and he got into property development over there. And he used to come back, and I was only a kid, and he used to come back, and he was like, "Oh, he looks so cool." I mean, this is like the 70s. So he'd have a blazer and flares, the wing collars. I got some great photos. I love him. And he was just so cool. He was different. He oozed charisma. And from a young age, I don't know why, but he used to talk to me about going to New Zealand and getting a section of land and building a house. And that's the way forward. And I thought, wow, this guy's amazing. And he was amazing. He was incredible. And as I grew up, he often used to come over pretty much every year and always spend time with me and talk about it. And a major inspiration. I thought, God, I want to be this guy. And I finished school and I got into building. I wanted to be Jeff. And why not? He's cool. And to this day, actually, his houses in New Zealand are known as barber houses.
Interesting.
What a legacy. That's cool, isn't it?
Amazing country as well.
Beautiful.
Half my family are from New Zealand.
Oh, really?
And I went about a year ago now with a close friend of mine for years. He's he's a bit of a farmer lad, grew up going to the shoots with his dad and been around that sort of thing, and it was always his dream to go. And I was like, look, I'm half from there, we got places to stay, let's go do it. And travelled New Zealand for a couple of months, and it's just amazing, and it's so quiet. And London, just to give you an idea of how small the population is, how quiet it is, I think London's like 11 million population.
Right.
The whole of New Zealand's like 4.5, 5 million.
Really?
That's the whole of New Zealand.
And it feels like it when you're there, doesn't it?
It's crazy. No air pollution, no light pollution, no sound pollution. It's just a completely different feel. But one thing I really did notice is it is a land of opportunity, a gold mine for property.
Yeah, he always said that. And as a bricklayer, he went there and he was making so much money. And it's equivalent of $1 a brick. Well, now I'm talking about like years ago. And, he was super successful in development. Yet when I went to see him in his later years in his life, he was living in this beautiful paddock because the house was just tiny. It was just so natural. And he had rainwater. He had a big drum catching the rainwater, which he showered in. And he lived this kind of like simple life.
Wicked.
And it was just beautiful. Beautiful. And wow, I thought this is... And he said to me, because he wasn't well at that point, he said to me, he wouldn't change a thing. And I thought, that is incredible, isn't it? To get to that point in your life to be able to say that you wouldn't change a thing.
Do you think that could be an ultimate goal of life that's rubbed off on you?
It's got to be, hasn't it?
To reach the end and have no
to
regrets.
think that you can change your life. If it's not where you want to be right now, well, you can make the changes and get to that point still quite easily, I think. It's about doing everything right, isn't it?
Do you think there's any cases where something is out of reach?
The reality, yeah. I think, because you don't want to set yourself up for a fall. And nor do you want to keep the box around you small. But, you set your expectations and deal with life in bite-sized pieces. And I think you can get to where you want to get to.
One foot in front of the other.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
I saw this clip of this guy on social media, and I can't remember what his name was, but he spoke of this poem called "The Boy, the Horse, the Fox, and the Mole." I can't remember what it was. I think it was that. Anyway, and the boy says to the horse, they're in the woods and it's dark, and he says, "I can't see a way out," and the horse says to the boy, "Just take the next step." And it's kind of this notion that if you feel like you're lost, you don't know what direction to head in or whatever, one step in one direction is better than taking no steps at all.
Yeah, it's great wise word. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Louis, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But it's so true, because I believe, because I've had some dark times. At times where, my back's been against the wall, you can barely breathe, that you've got to do something. You've got to take action. Mm-hmm. You've got to do something. And you can't be focusing on the problem that's caused the situation. You've got to focus on the solution. It's tough, but that's what I believe in. You focus on the solution at all times.
That's so true. There is a best possible choice to make in every situation, I guess, isn't there?
Yeah.
You're never lacking of a best possible choice.
You've got to do something.
So let's talk about that. In the 90s, well, you said in the 70s, 80s, your uncle had this big inspiration on you.
I thought he was going to say I was building in the 70s. He looks young.
No, yeah. At what point did you decide to act on this?
Okay, so, oh, wow. I love that. So I left school and I just wanted to make money. I wanted to make money at various different things. And I fell into plastering. Because somebody was offering me an apprenticeship in plastering, and you could earn good money doing that. And I loved being a builder. I still do, and I go and do bits and pieces now. I still do. I did some at my daughter's house at Christmas, and knackered me out, but I still do. It's not like it used to be. But I just love that freedom. I love that freedom being on a building site in the summer, and it's great. It's so great in the winter, but it's still good fun, and everybody's the banter, and everybody's having fun. It's quite nice, great place to be. So I just loved that environment. So I got into building, and I always knew I was going to get into development because of my uncle. So I got into building, got myself a trade, and when I was about 18, I bought my first place. It was easier then, you could get a mortgage just on a letter, basically, giving money away. So I got a letter from my boss. I got a mortgage on a place and bought a bungalow in a village nearby. And I bought this bungalow, just turning 19, 18 turning 19, and I renovated it. And I took too long to renovate it, probably over a year. Nowadays, you'd probably knock that out in 6 or 7 months for the state it was in to how I finished it. But I didn't really understand time. But time kills deals. You spend too long on something and the deal can get killed. So anyway, I was having fun with my friends. We were building my house, and the market was red hot. And to give you an idea, I paid 70 for it. I spent about 10 or 12 grand on it. And within a year, it was worth about 127,000. Now, bearing in mind, I'm like 19, and this is, 19 turning 20 at this point. 127 grand. I mean, that's profit, isn't it? In today's world, we're talking about like then, 1989, 1990. So, well, I'm going to get all this money. And I just thought, I'm going to buy myself a Sierra Cosworth. I don't know if you know what that is, but it was the car. It was the car to have then. And that's all I could think about.
What was the car, sorry? It was
a Sierra Cosworth.
Cosworth.
They were the thing, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd still have one today if I could. And it's a bloody good job I didn't get it, to be honest, because I would definitely put it in a bush. I was only young. So I put it out, I thought, wow, this is really easy. And then the 90s crash came along. And because I was only young, I didn't really know what it meant. You know, I just couldn't sell my house, and the interest rate started going up, and my mortgage was like unaffordable now. But back then you could go to the bank manager and go and see them and walk through the door and have a conversation, and the world was different. And I was, oh, okay, Paul, well, can you make an extra £100 a month payment? And yeah, okay, I can do that. And just somehow traded my way through it. So I did that, rented the place out. That helped, but I kept it. And then the market recovered, and I eventually sold it. And I sold it, and I made some money when the market was starting to climb. Didn't really understand the property, or probably didn't understand the property market at all then. And I moved on and went on to the next one, my next place, and got involved in refurbishments. And so that was my first lesson, was that recession. But ignorance is bliss. I kind of just carried on. And then I read a book by Donald Trump, believe it or not. And it's a real character, isn't he? And I read a book about Donald Trump had written The Art of the Deal. And in The Art of the Deal, he talks about doing structures on opportunities, buildings, whatever they might be, called option agreements. And I read about option agreements through this book. And, oh my God, this guy's incredible. It's basically get control first before you buy the opportunity. That's what it basically says. So you can do that through something called an option agreement. So you take an option on get a contract that's called an option agreement on a building or a piece of land. You sign it, you can pay £1 for it, and then you got control of it for a period of time. So that's what he did. Oh my God, this guy's amazing! I want to be Donald Trump of Didcot. And I literally
feeds into the dream of running the world, hey?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you never know. Might get a call up. But yeah, and that was that. And it just gave me like loads of confidence and loads of energy. And it just went on from there. I started seeing different opportunities and different ways to structure them, and talking to people about doing deals, and they didn't even know what their option agreement was then.
So you did a few renovations in the 90s, and the recession taught you a lot. And following that, you read the book by Donald Trump, and that flicked a switch in you.
Oh, big time. Yeah, it's it's what I wanted to do. Obviously I had my uncle was still around then. I started talking to him about it, and he said, yeah, you can do that. I was like, wow, this is incredible.
And from there, you went on to build. This was your first business, correct?
Yes, yeah. So I went on and started getting involved in new builds, in different types of deals, all different types of deals. And I moved down to West London way, Richmond. Started working in London. And the energy, oh God, the energy, wow, just to be in there. We all know it's like you go to that place, it could be at night or during a day, you go to the right parts and wow, everything is like possible.
I was speaking with your son Jesse moments ago about, when you just walk around London and the cars, and it's just a different, you have to really see it.
You've got
something
to
else is going on around there.
Yeah, I was there Tuesday afternoon. I was there, and I just fall back in love when I'm there. You just feel like you can take over the world, and that's the energy it gives you. And the reality is, if you've got that confidence, you know what you're doing. You've got that confidence, and you've got that energy. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Deals are being done, and people are doing them. So what's stopping you?
I love the kind of perspective, like if you walk into London, if you look around, everything was built from someone who started off with just a dream. Yeah. You look at a skyscraper and it's maybe reaches like a kilometre up into the sky or something crazy. that started off with someone's dream.
It did.
And they maybe thought it would be impossible, but they made it possible. Even things you look in the road, paint cat's eyes in the road.
Yeah.
I heard a fascinating thing about the guy who has a patent on cat's eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And the amount of money he makes from that small little invention is incredible. But it just goes to show, like, we so often look for big kind of out there ideas, business ideas. We think we've got to think of the next Einstein moment. You know, it's not, it doesn't have to be a eureka moment. It's just the little things, my girlfriend showed me a business the other day, this guy who, well, two businesses. One person had invented this placebo drug for kids. Now, it wasn't anything in it, but it said, make me strong, make me smart, or whatever, make me happy, make me calm, whatever. And it didn't have anything in it, but it convinced the kid that they could be strong, they could be, happy, and all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
It's just like these sort of small business ideas are just a great idea.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? And people do it. Look how much the world has changed in just the last few years. Last year with AI, it's just somebody's doing something somewhere. So I think that you've got to get yourself an education and understanding of something, because if you're going to crack the world, crack the code, then you've got to know what you're doing. But you need the team around you to do it. To think that you can do something on your own. Elon Musk, insane, unbelievable. But he's got a team. He's not building cars, is he? But he's got the team. But he's put the people in the right places. You've got to understand your strengths, obviously, but just as important, maybe more importantly, is your weaknesses. You've got to fill the gaps, and that's just simple business, good business. I do that all the time. I know what I'm good at. And I won't tell you here because it's probably not a lot. I know what I'm good at. I just get people to fill the gaps. I just get people to fill in.
That's very true. Where did I read this? Something referred to it as creating your, I believe, I think it was, do you know Napoleon Hill?
No.
He wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And one of the chapters was creating a mastermind alliance. And it's basically about, look, you stick to what you're good at. It's important to learn new things and, increase your capabilities and all this sort of thing, but you do what you're good at. And when you get to a position like yourself or like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, your skill then is about being able to allocate people to what they're good at.
Yes.
Making sure that the business runs as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, inspire them. Give them ownership. Give them ownership of the task. I'm not saying you have to give people shares in everything you're doing, but you give them ownership of the task. Make them feel important because they are. And build the right team. You invest in people. Got to get people around you. For years, when I was younger, I used to think that I'll do everything myself. And we're all limited to our skill set, as I touched on. And then you quickly learn that there's people out there that are better than you at many things, and they're the people you bring in. They're the people you bring in. You bring them in. I was at the meeting I was talking about earlier in London on Tuesday. My architect that I'm using for this particular scheme, unbelievable. He's my ultimate wingman. I secured my biggest deal probably off the back of him. I went into a deal and we just had an office address then. And I went into his deal and it was a big site in Hertford for, it was at the time it was going to be about 90 flats, apartments. It's a big scheme. Hadn't done anything like that. But I had the confidence to do it. I knew I could do it. I'd just do it over 3 years, and 30 flats a year, we can do that. So I just broke it down in bite-sized pieces. And it was a big scheme. It was worth a lot of money. Met the landowners. I got on really well with him and found common ground straight off the bat. He was into cars. I love cars. He went to Le Mans 24-hour race every year. At the time I went there too. So we had this bond. But my architect that I took to the meeting, I'd got to know him really well. And he does that stuff all day, every day. that to him is just nothing. You know, he'll do a 1,000-unit scheme. So, but he'll also do my stuff for 2 or 3, 4 houses. You know, he's that type of guy. Brilliant. But he's a great conversationalist as well. And I just took him with me. So I did the initial meeting, got to know the guy really well. We got on really well. We spoke probably about 90% about cars and 10% about the deal. And then we arranged to meet up again. I said, I'll bring my architect. He'll talk the deal, and Steve can talk. It's brilliant. And I took him along. And now there's 3 of us talking about cars because Steve went to the one 24 hours. So it was just piecing it all together.
Yeah.
So I chatted to the guy, Andrew, and I said, I've gone really well with him. And we carried on talking about the deal. And I rang Andrew up and I said to him, do you want to go and do a Lotus factory tour up in Hethel, Norfolk? And he went, oh, yeah, love it. So I said, cool, I'll get it sorted. And I called Steve up. I said, Steve, make sure you're available for this day. We're going to Lotus factory in Hethel. Oh, lovely. He said, brilliant. And that was it. The 3 of us now walking around the factory, having a great time talking business. We then went to the pub afterwards, had fish and chips, pie, whatever, just this basic little pub. And we started talking about the deal. And Andrew was talking about detail housing, affordable housing, and this was a big scheme, massive to them, massive to us. So he had to get his partner right, which was us. And Steve just made him feel relaxed because he talks about 1,000-unit scheme.
That's so interesting, like that style of conversation. It's like, I suppose it's why like a lot of business meetings are held playing golf, for example.
Yeah.
It's like everyone has that kind of like mutual interest where you can passively go about enjoying that interest together, but then you can talk the business stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like in your case, you were walking around a car factory, Lotus car factory.
Yeah.
That's
people buy from people, don't they? You know, that's basically
you got to like the person.
You got to like the person, especially if you're trusting them with your crown jewels.
What's your biggest conversation tip to anyone who struggles to conversate?
Find common ground. Find common ground, but it's got to be authentic. See, if you rock up at somebody's place, you should never obviously underestimate anybody. I've got a great story my grandfather told me once, actually. I'll touch on that. But I'll tell you the story. He worked at Cartier, the jewellers, and back then, the top salesman used to sit at the front, and in descending order, the new guys or the lesser salesman would sit at the back. And this guy walked into Cartier jewellers, and he dressed a bit like a tramp. And the front row ducked their heads, and the guy walked past. The next row looks up and thought, well, I don't want to deal with him. Got to the back row. Somebody asked whether they could help this guy. And this guy went on and spent tens of thousands in jewellery. I love that story. And he told me that when I was tiny. I love that story. Anyway, so I've always thought of that. And never underestimate anybody, because...
It's the old saying, isn't it? Don't read a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by its cover.
No, because everybody's better than you. That's something like we've touched on. So, so an example where I've used common ground. I'm doing a deal in Enfield, and it's quite a big one for us. It's a couple of 100 units, so that's quite a big one for us today. And I'd written to a landowner that was adjacent to the site to see if I could make it bigger. Anyway, got a phone call from this guy, and he said, "Yeah, can you come down and see us?" I was like, "Brilliant, I'm in, lovely, you know." Anyway, I drove down there, knocked on the door of the house I'd written to, and there was no one in. Oh, God, what's going on here? Anyway, so my phone rang, and this guy said, "I can see you. If you turn around, you can see me." And I thought, oh, God, it's the right old character. And I turned around, and in this like track of a road was this guy with like really thick braces, his trousers pulled up high, t-shirt on, bit of oil on him, little short fella. And I thought, okay. No, I've turned up in a nice car because I'm thinking I'm doing a big deal, and I'm in a suit and thinking I'm looking all sharp with shiny shoes. And I turned around and thought, okay. I drove down. We couldn't have been polar opposites. Or we looked polar opposites. We certainly weren't polar opposites. Anyway, so he said, all right, boy. Like that. So I said, yeah. I said, I'm just knocking on the door of whatever house. And he says, no, it's here, boy. Come on in. Anyway, so we went down this track, went past all these old vans and all that, carry on. And we got into this yard, which was really no help to me at all. It was like on the other side of the road. It wasn't very big. It was in the middle of a load of old other sites. So anyway, he had like these sort of gypsy type caravans in there and steam wagons and stuff like that. And then his wife came out of this sort of timber shed, which they lived in. I'm thinking, what am I doing here? So she came out of this timber shed and she said, you want a cup of tea, boy? Like that. So I said, well, I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll have a cup of tea. And then as she turned around, he said, I knew her 15 years or something like that. I knew her 15 years before I married her, boy. He said, you've got to try him out. You've got to try him out first. Anyway. So I was looking around, I thought, well, what are we going to talk about? I'm at the wrong site. It just feel like, this is just a waste of time. But he seems like a nice guy. So I said, you've got a Bedford CF van over there. I see that, like an 80s. And I had one of them when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And I said, they're funny, the gearboxes on them, blah, 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 blah. And he went, you know him, boy, yeah, you know him. Anyway, by that time, he realised I was a builder, and we got into that conversation. And we'd found common ground. So then we started going around his vans that he had that were all in bits and pieces. She brought my cup of tea out. So we were chatting about a few bits and pieces about vans and building and stuff like that. So we'd found common ground. Then I started asking him about these gypsy caravans and things, which were unbelievable. He'd make them himself. He was a brilliant tradesman. So he started showing me what he was doing, and we were there and was just chatting. I thought, yeah, why not? I'm having a cup of tea, and these are lovely people, the salt of the earth. Anyway, cut a long story short, by the time we'd finished talking after about 30, 40 minutes, it transpired that he knew the lady I'd written to. Mm. He knew the lady I'd written to. He also knew all the other people that were surrounding his little yard. Mm. He had all their contact details. He even looked after some of them. And they were all interested in selling.
Interesting.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
That's a great story. I love that because it really shows that, like, no matter who you're chatting to, we're all human at the end of the day. And at some point, you can branch to each other. And there is a point of conversation. For you, it was the caravan or the
Bedford van.
The van that he had and that you once had. And it's so true because that common ground does always exist, no matter who you're talking to.
Exactly.
There is some point of conversation where you can have some sort of agreement. And I suppose that's like that really amps it up, that accelerates it, that gets you going, that gets you to the point of building rapport with them. And,
and it also relaxes them. Because you want them to be relaxed, because if they're guarded, you're not going to get anything out of them. Not that I expected to get anything out of my Cartier guy. I just having a nice chat.
And you find that talking about something that they feel they know about, they're knowledgeable about. Gets them relaxed. They're proud of who they are. Most people are proud of who they are. It's their badge of honour, isn't it? And you get talking to them. But it's got to be authentic. I think there's a massive difference. I think we all know if we're talking to somebody who's not authentic. You can instantly pick up on it.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible.
So all of these things, the conversation tips, and you talk about the small, what would you say, the small bites thing, the
bite-sized pieces.
Bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
Did you know all this if we split, we'll go on to the third phase of your business life, but in this middle phase of the 2000s, did you know all these things then? Did you feel like they impacted your business life?
No, definitely not. I think I've particularly grown in the last 20 years. Just by opening my eyes, really, more than anything. And expanding and trying different things and talking to that's little me. Can you imagine that? It doesn't stop somebody doing it right now when they're 16, 17. Just got to open your eyes, look around, be personable, and you can do it. You can do it. That's the point in my life. I chose to do that, I guess, for one reason or another. I chose to go to London, meet new people, and expand my life. And that's what it did. You've got to make that step.
So following, probably about 7 years of business for you in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
something hit the world, shocked the world.
Wow, yeah.
What did that do to you, and what was it?
The financial crash. Wow. Unbelievable. And it shows how fragile life can be. We all know life can be fragile and business can be tough. That's just the reality. But sometimes it's out of your control. So exciting times. So like in those like mid 2000s, like you could just borrow money. You could just borrow money by saying you're a property developer, and I think most people did. I could write to the banks and say, I've got a telephone box, I'm going to convert to 20 flats. Can I have £5 million? I say, yeah, there you go. Would you like 6? Oh, thank you very much. It was that nuts. Unfortunately for me, I was doing everything by the book. I say unfortunately because if I knew, looking back, then I would have really expanded. But I had expanded. I was doing a lot. So I was in West London. But that's the energy the banks gave everybody globally. And that's why there was a problem. And of course, people that are less honourable really abuse the system and create a collapse. But it was the bank's problem. It was the banks that started it. It was the bank's reckless lending that started it. So I'm starting to see deals. I'm signing up deals. I'm getting investment. I sold my house. I put everything into it. I was confident, and the world went upside down. And the banks didn't foreclose on me, but they forced my sales. And by forcing my sales, I lost everything. I had to start again.
Start again. You said also to me that you started with less than what you had at the start.
Yeah.
Less than zero.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, I had everything I had in it. So the easiest thing in the world for me to do was gone bankrupt and just said, okay, I'm done. But I didn't. For some reason, I didn't. I just carried on trading through and paying money back as I was earning it. But it was a tough period of my life. I look back now, it didn't take too long, to be fair. It took me 2-3 years, but it was a tough period. And somehow I found the strength to get through it. I had deals. I knew how to do deals. So no matter how much of a position I was in, I knew how to do deals. But we'll go back a little bit how it happened. But I got a phone call. I was doing deals everywhere. One of the deals I was doing, actually, put a bit of light in it, was I was putting together a deal in Monaco. And I'd gone to see a friend of mine in Grosvenor Square. And he said, what are you doing at the weekend? I said, I'm going to fly over to Nice, see my friend in Monaco. He works for some rich guy, spend the weekend there. He said, oh, you don't want to buy a hotel? And I was like, oh, yeah, I might just do that. He said, so how much is it? He said, 30 million euros. So I said, oh, I'm up for that. So anyway, so I went over there, saw my mate Mac, and he was the driver of this rich fella, and Mac picked me up, and he said, we're staying in my boss's villa up in the hills there in the mountains. So, oh, right, cool. Does he not mind? He said, oh, he's down on his boat. He won't even know. Don't worry about it. So I'm a little bit uncomfortable with this. So he's like, hey, it'll be fine. I know every movement. So I was like, okay. Anyway, so we stayed in this beautiful villa. So I said, I've got to go and view a hotel on Saturday. And he said, oh, I'll run you down there. So he turned up in his boss's Rolls Royce. It took me to this hotel. I got out the back of it. Probably like Donald Trump. He opened the door, I got out, I walked around, and there was a gorgeous hotel. It was on the hillside, and I instantly thought, wow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell the rooms off as investments, and people can get a return on the rental and that sort of stuff. And then we'll build some villas in the ground. So I thought, wow, I want to do this. That's how much confidence I had. Now you could get money. So on the way back, I scribbled down a business plan, probably on the back of an EasyJet sick bag or something. It was that basic. Got back, put it into a presentation, called somebody I know and said, look, I've got a deal. I've got a deal. We've got to do it. And I told him what it was. I said, well, wow, that's unbelievable. He said, yeah, what's the profit? And I said, it's got to be 30, 40 million quid, something like that. He said, wow, I've got to do that. That's what it was like. So, load of energy. And I had an investor meeting lined up for this deal. I was so excited. And I was ready to go, literally ready to go. And I got a phone call from my contact. He said the investors pulled out the meeting. Hopefully we'll get it back on in the next week or two. He's had to go to America because he's into subprime. I was like, wow, okay, what the hell's that? And that's when I found out about the crash. Then the world went upside down. And I had deals going on.
How did you feel at first?
I was okay because I felt like I was in a good place because I was honourable and my deals were nearly finished, nearing completion, and with good profits projected. Even if I took a hit on the sales, I was still going to make good money. I was quite relaxed, but I could see everything starting to crumble, and it crumbled quick. And people were discounting houses, sort of tens of thousands, if not hundreds, around London. And I said, this is it. But I've got some good stuff. I'm all right, even if I discount. And okay, so this is fine. So we carried on in vain. I got a phone call from my bank manager. They call them bank managers. He said, I need to introduce you to somebody from the bank. They're a bit of a bulldog, but it should be all right. I thought, that's a bit weird. Anyway, I met her. She seemed all right. Went round some of my developments, and we sat down and had a coffee. She said, "Oh, you're in good shape." She said, "You're in good shape." She said, all your deals are pretty much completion. Should be fine." So I said, "Okay," because she said most of the deals I've seen are holes in the ground. I was like, "Oh, what's that?" So she said, it's basically where people had borrowed money from the banks and just dug a hole and naffed off with the money. Because back then you would draw down your bank loan for the development with no monitoring. You just send them a fax or whatever, an email, and say, I need 200 grand or whatever because I'm at the roof, and they'll just give you the money. So people obviously knew that, and they just took the money and left. Wow. Big problem. So I thought, this is cool. And then we finished the meeting and went off. They still thought, this is all right. And then it started. Saying, okay, development loan's quite short. It can be like 12, 18 months, something like that.
What was the first thing that happened to you specifically?
First thing that happened was there was no extension to any facility. So if you're coming near the end of the job and you were getting tight on money and you asked for £1,000, £10,000 because you might need a bit more money.
No chance.
Got to fund it yourself.
So what did that do to the properties that you were developing?
Well, it meant that you had to burn through the cash you had. So any reserves you had. So your pot's going down before theirs. The banks, they're not giving any more money. So if there's any overruns or even just company overheads, filling the vans up, anything, chipping away. Now, don't forget, you're not selling houses either. So you've got nothing coming in. Everything's going out. So before you know it, you're through pretty much what you've got. And then you're like, I'm all out. So the banks will be like, well, okay, you need to start selling your houses. Well, I'm trying. We need to start discounting. And that's when the discounts come. Discount. And I remember at one point...
How much did you have in property in this?
Oh, yeah, I had deals for millions.
Yeah.
And it was, painful. But it wasn't just dealing with the problem. It was trying to deal with yourself. Can you imagine how you feel?
In the peak of the 2000s to the trough of 08, 09, what was the difference from the highest to the lowest point for you?
Well, the highest point...
Financially.
Monetary wise, I don't really want to say really. But yeah, it was everything I lost.
Everything to less than zero.
To less than zero, yeah.
So you're in, these are unimaginable times.
Yeah.
Darkest times. You know, you've gone from feeling like you're on top of the world to under the world. Everything's gone.
Unbelievable.
You said to me as well that you remember waking up at a friend's house,
Yeah.
realizing you had nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Couldn't afford my rent. Literally woke up in the town I was born. Grew up in rather. It's a friend I'd known my whole life in his back bedroom. Absolutely broke. Still had some deals. Still had some deals. But absolutely broke. And my body would like burn at night. The stress. Wow. And it was all taken from me and many others. Because if we just carried on trading, and everybody looked after each other, we would have been fine. We would have been fine. You know, the amount of money I owed the banks is a drop in the ocean. It's a 20 odd billion pounds that one particular bank lost. It's just a drop in. It's just be honourable. Just treat people like people. You know, most solutions to most problems are very simple. It's just people that make them difficult. And I think sometimes, you know, in the corporate world, people get wrapped up in their own super bastard ego, you know, because they're insulated by the fat of a machine, you know, with their big shiny offices, and they'll just do this, just do that, just do this. Oh, fucking, yeah. The reality is, the impact it has on people. Some people came out a lot worse than I did. Wow. And all you got to do is work with people.
So how were you feeling in that situation?
Well, I don't know how I got through it, is the reality. I just, I just found the strength day by day. And I had what I had. I didn't focus on the small things. You know, we talk about the detail, and it's so important, detail, particularly what I do, particularly contracts and things like that. I like everything just to be right when I'm building a house. But at that time, it was into survival mode. So it was like the small things just didn't matter. You know, the nonsense conversations with the banks, it was the big thing. It was finding a solution.
Do or die situation.
Get out of it. Yeah, we were in the valley. You know, when things are great, you're going peak to peak to peak to peak. Because when everything's great, everything's great. You know, it's a funny little expression. I love that expression. Everything's great when everything's great, because it is.
Yeah.
You know, when everything's great, everybody's happy. You know, it's how are people going to react when you're in the trenches. And then you really find out, you know, somebody's true colours when you're in the trenches.
That's really true. I really like that because, again, can't remember who said it, but they say the best way to learn things is when conditions are suboptimal. If you can do things well when the conditions are optimal, great, fair enough.
Yeah.
But when the conditions aren't good, you know, that's who you truly are. That's, you know, kind of ties into the thing as well as like you are who you truly are when no one else is around. You know, when no one else is here to judge you, you're not worried about what people think about you. That is who you are. And when you're in those situations where you're scrambling about trying to live in a situation that could just wipe everything away from you.
Yeah.
You really have to, you are your spine then.
Yeah.
You find out who you are in that situation.
Yeah. It's quite incredible, actually. It's so true. And you're spot on, particularly in property development. When it's going well, like it has been for years, it's really tough now. When it's going well, everybody's in it, you know, and everybody's like feeling like they're doing really well. But you'd have to get it very wrong to lose money at those times, you know. It's when it goes wrong, like it has done now. There's some people really holding some stuff, or worse, lost some stuff that I've seen recently, which I feel for because I've been there. But yeah, or you see the true measure of somebody when things are going wrong, whether it's the banks in that situation, how this particular woman behaved, or whether it's just anybody you're working with. When things are tough, it's where you see.
Previous guests I had on, we spoke about this a lot, about, what does it take to be a good man and that sort of thing. And one of the key things we talked about is what makes a good man is how you deal with difficult situations. You may be able to deal with situations when they're going well for you, but when shit really hits the fan, how well can you get your shit together and remain calm and just focus on the best possible situation? Would you say you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we said, touched on earlier, let's focus on the solution. We learn by what's gone wrong. We can never forget that. We can't forget, what's gone wrong, but we focus on the solution. And we do need to learn from mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. It was Dyson that said that how many failures he'd had when he invented his vacuum, bagless vacuum. I think it was like 5,000 odd failures. He said, I'd failed 5,000 times. You have to look it up. It's great. And it's so true. He saw every one. That was a failure, but he learned from them, and he just continued and persevered and got to where he wanted to get to.
Is that how you framed this ditch in your...
Yeah. I tell you what, I think it's important to be able to put things, life, whatever you want, in different boxes, right? So you don't become overwhelmed. I guess you could call that bite-sized pieces. But if you can contain things in boxes, then you can separate. So you're not blowing like, you're not getting dragged into something that's going to pull you down. You meet somebody that's negative in life. It's bad energy, isn't it? Double it. It's twice as bad, maybe more. But put it in boxes. Otherwise, it's just going to merge into the good stuff. And you can control it. Now, you might want to deal with those people still. It's fine. But just don't let it drag you down. Or the problem. Just don't let the problem drag you down. You've got to keep working towards the ultimate goal.
How do you deal with being in that sort of, like, feeling like you're surrounded by negative people who want to bring you down from chasing your dreams, people who, pessimistic about taking chances and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
What do you do in that sort of situation?
Well, some people make me laugh. Yeah, I think they do to a lot of us, don't they? They're so bad. I love that. Oh, mate, give me a break. Have a day off. But if it's persistent, it's like being in any relationship. If it's persistent, then it's going to really drag you down. But I think if you carry good energy yourself, you've just got to be aware of it. Because, you do need a balance in life. You do need somebody sometimes to say to you, well, just rein it in a bit. Or that's just so think true. About this. It's not all about loading it up. But, if somebody's going to offer some advice, I wouldn't say criticism. If somebody's going to offer some advice, it's got to come from their heart, and that's right. True love, isn't it? Whether if somebody's offering you some advice, they're not just saying it for the sake of saying it.
What does advice look like when it doesn't come from the heart?
It doesn't feel authentic, does it? It feels like somebody is just pulling against you. Or they just want to say something for the sake of saying something.
Yeah, just to fit in. Do you think it could also come from a place of envy, resentment?
Or insecurity?
Insecurity,
Could be anything, yeah.
And that's just trying to pull you back down?
Yeah. Well, there's lots of different people in this world, isn't there? Think differently, which is great. But you need to be careful about who you surround yourself with.
So climbing back out of this ditch, talk me about that process.
Wow. So that was super painful, obviously. But for some reason, I didn't just go off and go and get a job. In hindsight, that would have been the easiest thing in the world. Just to go and got a bloody job. Well, imagine going to get a job and earn some money. I don't know. That would be probably a bit of advice I'd give somebody now. Go and get a job. But get a job where you can still do what you want to do, because if you're that ambitious person, then you'll always come through. But I didn't do that. And I think I probably didn't do that because I had a lot going on. And I had opportunities. And all the time there's opportunities, those strands of opportunities that do exist. All the time there were those strands. I was just hanging on to them because I knew who I was. I knew where I was going to get to. I knew my formula works. I just had to keep going. I just had to have that determination. When I met people, I had to find the energy and the confidence. Like you touched on, you said about, when you're on your own and it's quiet and what have you, it's tough. It's really tough. So I'd have a meeting, and I genuinely get inspired by a deal. If you spoke to me about a deal today, I'd be like, wow, really? Okay, love that. And it would lift me. So I was the same then. And I started seeing a couple of opportunities, got offered a couple of opportunities. And it kind of lifted me and carried me through it. And that basically, I was just pulling myself out of it. And my first major comeback deal was how I met my business partners. One of them's retired now. We've got new guys coming, but one of them's retired now. But it's how I met my business partners. Mm. And and that got me out of it. Got me out of it. But it was a real sliding door moment. Where I had different options to decide which direction I was going to go with it.
For that part of your life, what would you say, your biggest takeaway, the biggest lesson that you learned?
To celebrate the journey. And it's something I try and do now. It's obviously, life is life. It's not always easy. But is to celebrate the journey rather than the end goal. Those little successes along the way rather than the end goal, because life changes and can change, and in property it can change on a light switch, out of your control. So you've got to enjoy the journey. There's wins along the way constantly. Chatting to you today is a big win. This is great, loving it. It's nice to talk to you. You've got to celebrate everything that's good. I'm not talking about going and drink champagne because it's not real well, but you can think, yeah, wow, that was cool. Loved that, rather than just seeing the end goal as a success.
Focusing on each moment as it comes and appreciating for what you got out of it.
Yeah.
I really like that framework because it's so easy to, when you're so focused, and you mentioned when you were young, you were super ambitious, you want to achieve great things. It's so easy to forget about the now. You see yourself, you see this goal, and you feel yourself moving towards it, and that feels great. But life goes by like that.
It does.
And it's, myself personally, it's one thing that I'm trying to work at getting better at myself. Again, like yourself when you were younger, I have major ambition and all this sort of thing, the podcast and all this stuff. But I feel life just goes so quick when, you don't actually sit in the moment and think, this is cool. And I just have a moment where I have to force myself and think, my hands are moving. Like, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Look at my hand and it's moving, and I look around and I can see and I can hear and I can smell, and right down to the smallest things that we take for granted. They are wins in the moment, I suppose.
Massively, yeah.
And if they were to be taken away from you, there'd be major losses.
Yeah, and it's lovely to hear you say that because you're young. You're ambitious. This is great what you're doing, and you're set for great things. But you've got to enjoy it. You're absolutely spot on, because life is fragile.
Balance the being and becoming.
Yeah,
I've heard it said.
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
So you were in the crash, scrambling out of it for 2 years.
A couple of years. Yeah.
And you've rebuilt back up since the early 2010s.
Yeah. So my comeback deal, I went to see a colleague I know, estate agent, just chatting and seeing what he had. Where I was getting the energy from, I don't know, but I somehow did. And I saw he had a piece of land that would suit a couple of houses. So we were chatting about it, and he said, I'll introduce you to the seller. So I went and saw the seller, and he said to him, what was the place worth, basically? It's like 700 grand or whatever it was. And the market was tough. Don't forget, nobody could sell. And I think I said something like, I'll give you 800 grand for it, but I need 12 months to get planning on it before I buy it. So we said, well, yeah, I'm happy with that. So that was that. I can't remember the exact numbers. So I said, but to do that, I need a 12-month option agreement on it, and we'll enter into that. That gives me the security. I can go off and get planning permission on your land to make it worth 800,000, because otherwise I can't buy it. And he said, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I've got that. So we signed up an option agreement for £1. We exchanged contracts on £1. And at the time, I couldn't even afford the legal costs, but somehow scrambling through. So I had control on his land for £1. Wow. Right. Now I'm in business. So now I needed to go.
It was something you took from Trump's book, right?
Trump's book, Donald Trump of Didcot. Right? So I nailed this. So I thought, right, now I need an architect to do some drawings, but I've got no money. So I went and saw an architect and I showed him it. He went, wow, this is great. I said, how much do you think it will cost you to do these drawings? I'm going to need you to do everything. Everything. I want to give you the lot. So he said, wow, whatever it was, 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever. So I said, cool. Do you think we'll get it? Do you think we'll get the planning? He said, yeah, 100%. You're definitely going to get it. I've got it over the road. You're definitely going to get it. So I said to him, well, why don't you become part of the deal? He said, well, no win, no fee. You put your time in. You do the drawings. If we get it, I'll double your fee. He went, yeah, all right, let's do it. So that was it. So I thought, yes, right, okay, got that. Anyway, so he did it all. It was easy, a little bit easier then because you didn't need so many reports and stuff like that. So he did it all. And he said, okay, he rang me up. I remember ringing me up and said, Paul, I need to submit the planning application and it's like 800 quid. So he said, I need to submit the planning application, it's like 800 quid. I've done all the drawings. Can you pay the money? I'm like, oh God, where am I going to get 800 quid from? That was how short I was. Anyway, so I managed to somehow scramble it together and we submitted the planning application and I got a planning consent, bang, straight through. Yes. Now, the land was actually worth about £1 million. So I've done well. So I thought, okay, right, here we go. Right, got what am I going to do? I could flip it. Could sell it for £1 million maybe. Don't know. I could build it. I could build this thing. A couple of houses, good money in it. Okay. Right. Okay. So I said to my friend, the estate agent, I said, "Can you find me a buyer for the land?" And he said, "Yeah. Okay. I should be able to do that." And off he went. Straight away, he came back with a bid of about 100 grand more than I was going to pay for it, like 900 grand or something like that. I thought, okay, that's all right, it's good. You know, I need money. Wow, okay. But then I thought, well, look, if this guy taps me along and doesn't complete within the 12 months, I'm done for. I don't know who they are, what have you. So I said to him, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can raise some investment. And I'm going to also see if I can sell one of the houses off plan, or both if possible. Because if I could sell the houses off plan, I could sell each plot at like £500,000 a plot or something, you know, and then give them a build contract and build it out. We'll try that. So I'm now running 3 horses. I'm running the land sale. I'm running trying to build it through investment, getting investment, which was hard to come by, or try and sell a plot or two off plan. So I'm running 3 horses all at the same time. So it's going on and on. Time's ticking on. Like you say, time just goes so quick. And the builder was kind of there. The guy who was going to buy the land off me, he was kind of there, but messing me around a bit. I thought, well, here we go. Because I'm probably now 7-8 months into it, maybe something like that.
Did you pick up on the inauthenticity?
Yeah. Just felt something wasn't right. It'd go cold. So a big part of doing a deal is you must remain present with people. Always talking to people all the time. Gives them confidence and you grow your relationship rather than being, you know, I mean, he would go cold. Didn't like it. And I was introduced, so second option was to get an investor or two. So I was introduced to this guy and I met him in a pub and he came recommended and he said, I'm looking to invest in property. So I said, yeah, cool. Well, I'm here. I've got some deals. Got this one here. He said, how much do you need? I said, probably about $500,000. I get the rest from the banks, something like that. He said, so I've got 50 grand. So I was like, okay, lovely guy, Yorkshireman, right? And I thought, well, he doesn't know who I am and he's offered me 50 grand. It's a lot of money, isn't it, really?
It is, yeah.
So that in itself, thought, wow, bearing in mind that I've come from doing some big, crazy stuff, I'm like, wow, I've got 50 grand invested. Yes, this guy believes in me. Like, whoa, here we go. Okay, I need another 450. Right? Where am I going to get that from? Right? So, like, I went back home, and then I got a call from my estate agent friend. Right, this is the craziest story, really. He said, I've got a guy who wants to buy one of the plots. So I said, well, brilliant. I'm thinking, well, if I've got 50 grand from him, if I can sell one plot, we're getting there, aren't we? I'm getting like the £500,000 coming from the land. Da, 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 da. So I went to estate agents and I met this guy. And this guy was really switched on. He was from the city. He'd been involved in a lot of distress stuff from 2008. So he was a switched on guy, sharp. So we sat there and he was chatting away. He said, yeah, I just want to build a house, like, you know, for the family. Da, 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 da. I said, cool. Let's do it. I thought, okay, well, that's pretty easy. Wow, amazing, you know, let's do it. So went home thinking, I've nailed it. And the next day I got a phone call. I was in a flat in St Albans and I got a phone call and it was this guy. And he said, I've been thinking, he said, I don't want to buy that house. I thought, oh, no. I can still remember it to this day. I slid down the wall. I sat on the floor. And he said, yeah, it's just don't think it's for my family.
Gutted.
Just another blow. And then he said, but I'll lend you the money to build it if you like. I was like, wow. Just straight back up. I couldn't believe it. Wow. So I said, okay, let's have a meeting. I said, I've got another guy who's interested in investing too. Maybe we'll all get together. So he said, yeah, great. So we all met up.
What an emotional roller coaster.
Unbelievable. On one phone call as well. Yeah. We all met up. He said, yeah, that's fine. We'll lend you the money. We'll do this. Da, 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 da. So well, this is brilliant. Gonna do it. So I kept the other guy, the other builder there that wanted to buy the land, just kept him there because I didn't know if it was going to come through this. So he said, I'll work up some contracts. I'll get them over to you. So I went home and like literally in no time, these contracts turned up. They were like that. And I read them. I thought, oh, God, I can't do this. It was like a catch-all situation. I was down and out, but it was catch-all. Bearing in mind, I'd lost everything. I'm trying to rebuild. If something goes wrong, I'm in trouble with these contracts. So I rang the guy up and said, I can't do it. The investor. I can't do it. I can't sign these. And he said, well, you know, I really want to do the deal and whatever, so I just can't do it. Anyway, so it kind of went cold for a bit. So I thought, okay, right, I'm stuck. I'm going to have to run with the guys selling the land. So I'm going to sell the land to. Anyway, I think he thought I was in trouble at that point because we're probably at month 11 now. Right, this is a true story. So this is like month 11. So I'm thinking, okay, so I said to the guy buying the land, you've got to buy the land this month. Otherwise, I'm building it. That's it. I'm building it, even though I didn't have the money to do it. So he's like, oh, okay. And then I fed back to my other contact that I'd got the money to build it, which then fed back to the guy who's wanting to. Now he stops messing around. Right? Got a phone call. Said, I'm going to pay you another 20 grand to buy it off you. Going to give me like another 120 in total. So I thought, I'm going to do it. Okay, right, I'm going to do it. I left my home.
Whenabouts was this, sorry? 2012?
Yeah, around about that time, yeah. I left my home. I was walking to the solicitor's office in St Albans to sign the contracts. It's a true story. I signed the contracts to sell the land to that guy. I got a phone call from the investor guy. He said, I want to do this deal. I want to do more deals. I want to get into property. We'll drop the clauses. Let's do it. And that was that. And I literally turned back around and walked back. And we did it. And to this day, he's still my business partner.
Wow. Yeah. That is an awesome story.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I love that story. That's wicked. And from there until now, this is the same business. He's your business partner.
It's the same business.
So tell me the name of the business.
Rockwell
Homes.
Yeah. And we built a lovely brand. We built lovely houses. And we've done a lot.
Wow.
And the 50 grand guy, the 50 grand investor guy, went on to invest millions because he had it. He just didn't know who I was at that time.
Wow. That's an awesome story. I really love to
Yes.
hear. I love to hear stories of true ups and downs. I think it's the tale of life, isn't it, really? I think that's why so many films and so many books resonate with us, because they have that as a core theme. One of my favourite structures, and I talk to my friend Jack about this quite a lot. One of my favourite structures in a book and a film, whatever, it's called The Hero's Journey. And it's basically you're in the known, everything's normal, and you could stay in the normal, and you could do what everyone else does, and you'll be fine most of the time. Your peaks and troughs will be less different, you know. It won't be more like this, it'll be more like this. And it's more of a cruise life.
Yeah.
But if that's not your calling, you know, you're going to be invited with some sort of passion or some sort of desire to do something big, like future ambition, and you're going to enter this dark place that you don't really know what's going on. You don't really know how you're managing things. You said you were trying to do it all by yourself. I think a lot of people can resonate with that. And you kind of have to just keep pushing through. You know, when the opportunities may feel scarce and you're trying to find them as best as you can and trying to find the hope and be optimistic, you've just got to keep pushing through. And you see this in films like great ones like Harry Potter, James Bond, Star Wars, all these, they all follow the same structure. Another great one, Gladiator. Gladiator is almost like a reverse of this.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to your story in early 2000s, lose everything, come back. Have you seen Gladiator?
No.
Great film.
The original.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Great film. I recommend it so highly. And he loses everything. He's one of Marcus Aurelius's highest level generals. And then, loses everything. And it's all a comeback story. And these stories are great because there's so much you can really take from it. And what you're saying today, honestly, me sat here, it's just, there's so much that I'm taking from your story. And I really hope that people listening really understand something about your story, because you're a man who felt like you'd reached the top almost. You knew you were really getting somewhere.
So close. Yeah.
And then something happens which was no one knew was going to happen, and you've lost everything. And you had family, you had kids at the time too.
Yeah. I remember selling my watch
Wow.
to raise some money. Yeah, I literally got turned over on it as well. Didn't make much money on it at all.
So
I literally sold everything. Yeah.
Everything just to keep going, just to get food on the table.
Yeah.
And you've written a book.
Borrowed my friend's car. I was living in my friend's place, obviously. Wow.
When you look back on those times now, do you look back with sorrow or gratitude?
I certainly would have liked an easier ride. You know, I'm certainly not sitting there going, wow, this is amazing, you know, or a badge of honour. I just learnt a lot from it. I never stopped believing in myself, who I am. I just learnt a lot from it, a lot about people's behaviours, you know, and I grew from it. I just grew from it. But I always had a vision. I always knew where I wanted to be. I always know where I wanted to be. I had my method of doing things. I know it works. It still works today. It was working 20 years ago. It still works today. I knew how to put a deal together. I know how to make things tick. And I just kept going because it works. You know, if it works, it works. Just keep going and be open. Be open to talk to people and connect with people, because it's the other people that make things happen too. It's just not you.
For anyone looking to get into property and aspiring to achieve things that you've done, maybe they're in their own financial crash themselves, or they're really struggling to find the belief. Maybe they're around people who don't believe in them. They have the self-doubt. What would your advice be to that person?
It can be done. It can be done. I've seen it done very recently on no money. It can be done. I'll tell you how that went about recently. But you've got to obviously believe it. Whatever the commodity is, you know, I trade property, I trade land, whatever it is, you've got to know your market. You've got to understand what you're trading. You've got to understand what you're dealing with. That's how people lose so much money on this get-quick-rich trading stuff, because they don't know what they're doing. And you can't control it. You can't control the markets. Very few people make money at that. You can't control I can't control the property market. So I earn my money when I buy. So when I'm buying something or getting a deal on something, I'm making sure it works. It's got to work. I'm not overpaying for something. I'm buying something at the lowest price I think I can possibly get it. But making sure everybody's making money along the way, otherwise people won't sell something. So I'm earning my money when I buy, so even if the market crashes, I've got a buffer to make sure I'm coming out the right side up. So I work on that. But I'll give you an example. Somebody wants to get into property. A good friend of mine did a deal recently, and he saw an opportunity. I say there was two of them. They saw an opportunity. It was a piece of land that had planning consent recently granted for a couple at the front and one at the back of the garden. So my friend knocks on the door and said, the landowner opened the door. He took action. He knocks on the door. Just didn't look at it, chat about it, make a phone call, send a lazy text, whatever it might be. He knocked on the door, went and saw the landowner, and said, I see you got a planning consent, blah, 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 blah. So the guy says, yeah, I've got a developer on it. So quickly the guy said, is he offering you £1 million for it? So the guy went, well, no, he's not. He said, can we have a chat? Anyway, so then they had a chat. He's in. And he's personable. And he won the guy over. And he didn't agree at £1 million. He agreed it at 750. So he's in there. He agreed to deal with the guy.
What's that? Is that the foot in the door technique?
Well, yeah, you can use that. But at the time, my friend genuinely thought it was worth £1 million. And it probably is, or was. It's been sold now. In fact, yeah, it was, because they sold it on. But he needed to make money. So, but he's gone in there, but his gut's telling him it's worth £1 million. So that's just the first thing he thought of. Was he paying you £1 million? Anyway, so he showed the door. And he's chatting to him, and they really liked him. So he said, can we enter into a deal whereby I can sell the land in two different sections, the front and the back. But as long as I give you your money first, you're 750. Are you okay with that? And I said, yeah, and do what you like. As long as we get our 750, we're off. They then sold the front for 750 and still had the land at the back. And then sold the land at the back and made their money. Did it with no money. Genius, isn't it?
That is again, another great story.
It is, isn't it?
Really
it's not one of mine. I wish I'd done it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought it.
Really shows, doesn't it? You can just go from scratch.
Yeah.
It's almost like we find excuses to procrastinate, to not do things, to be risk averse, to think, that's why I can't do it. And in a way that kind of comforts us, because it gives us a reason to not take action. Sometimes, tell me if you agree with this, but taking action can be the most uncomfortable thing in the world.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Fear of failing, perhaps.
It's unpredictable, isn't it?
It's unpredictable, yeah. If you've lost everything, like I lost everything, I wouldn't go straight into everything like I used to, even now. I wouldn't do that. So, I've been burnt. But that said, I'm very active. So I'm more cautious. I'm more educated now. So I make more educated decisions. So, yeah, I think that it can stop you, obviously. Life will stop you. Your mind's obviously thinking of the worst, isn't it?
You've written a book,
Yes.
0 to 100.
Yes.
You've told me that it's not necessarily for profit, but to inspire.
It's definitely not for profit.
Tell me about it.
So I was inspired by Donald Trump. I don't mind saying that. By his book. He's crazy, isn't he? But you got to admire him in some ways. He gets things done, doesn't he?
Oh, he is a genius.
He is a genius at deal making. There's no doubt. So I've been inspired and what have you. And I was looking back, and like you touched on earlier, Louis, when you said about time going on so quickly, and I had a sort of moment. I thought, talking about some of the houses I'd built, because remember my Uncle Jeff said to me once I was in Norwich with him, and he said, I built those chimneys there. when I was an apprentice. I thought, that's cool. My grandfather, his father was a bricklayer. And master bricklayer, my mother would say. Master bricklayer, just not bricklayer. Master bricklayer. Built all these houses and they were nice, to be fair. But he left like a legacy, right? And I thought, well, that's cool. I wonder if my kids know where my houses are. Do you know what I mean? Because I've done a few. So I started writing down some of the stuff. And I thought, my God, I've done that. And what have you. And I thought, God, I've done a lot. I've done loads, and I've done lots in lots of different ways. And then I started going back into the dark times, the 2008 times, and I thought, wow, if I had this information that I can get across now, if I could inspire somebody, if I had that in 2008, and I would have found my way out quicker. So if I can inspire one person, I'm going to write a book. If I can inspire one person, and little did I know, 2 years later, you're still writing. Because obviously you're not doing it every day, you're working. But and then you're researching and going back into your deals.
Takes a lot. Yeah, you got to go back, edit.
Wow. Yeah. So I'd write the book and then give it to my mother-in-law, who talks like my mother used to. A very smart lady, and she is as well. Unfortunately, she took out the few F's and chefing. I mean, she took the builder out of me in the book. It's still in there because it's me talking.
Yeah.
But she took the. Are you sure about that word, darling? Okay. And she put it all together. She checked my grammar on it, and it reads really nicely. And I put it together, and I read it. I thought, wow, I'm pretty proud of that. But it's definitely not for profit.
And you also have Highfield
Property Network. Yeah, so that's something that's kind of grown from the book, because we quickly learned that from the book, inspiring somebody's one thing, taking action, like you touched on, is another. And taking action comes from confidence, like we touched on, and belief. And people have read my book. Oh, I really love it, but I'm still a bit nervous. So yeah, okay. And it's grown from there. So we Jesse, my son, said, "Well, why don't you start doing courses?" So I said, "That's a great idea." He said, "We'll just turn the book into a course, easy." I said, "You sure? It's taken me a couple of years to write, Anyway, fast forward 2 years. And it was nothing of the sort. We ended up having to write all scripts for films. Films. I like to call them movies. We've done 40-odd videos. I've got some professional guys in to do all the camera work. Had to do all the scripts for them. I was like writing the book over 10 times. So Jesse's quite happy just doing his thing. And I'm right away in the evenings putting it all together. So we did the video courses. We're hopefully going to launch in the next few months. It's just grown into like a network. Hopefully it's going to be like a network, and we're going to mentor people, and people can either just buy the courses and just get on with their life. That's what they want to do. But it's all out there. It's everything I know is in those courses, and it's hours of videos, because everything's in those courses. But if they want to become a member, they can become a member, and I'll mentor them. And I'm really excited about that. So people can bring a deal to me. I'll talk to them about it, tell them different ways of structuring it, help them along the way. And you never know who I might meet. So, and that's where it is.
For the person who has listened to this today, or knows you personally, or has heard of you, and maybe wants to have a read of your book, or wants to gain access to your network that you're building, how can they do that? How can they find your book? And how
the network's going to launch soon. I'm going to hold the book back for people that complete the course, because there's a lot of information in that book too. So I'm going to gift it out to people that do the course.
Okay.
So that's how they get the book now.
It's like a trophy.
Yeah, why not? Because it's very personal, and hopefully by that time, I'd have been mentoring them. They get to know them, and they can really connect with the book because it's got all my stories in there. So that, hopefully, from the heart, they'll connect with the book. But the course, Highfield Property Network, that'll be, I'm hoping, around about March launch. But it's a great platform. It'll be app based as well, so people can access it on an app and watch the videos if they're on the train or the bus.
If they look it up on Google, they'll be able to find it when it's up.
When it's set up, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we'll be doing social media.
On Instagram, TikTok, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and we'll see how it goes. And hopefully, if I can inspire one person, if I can get one person out of the hole that I was in, I'd have done my job, wouldn't I?
To close up, I'd love to talk about that hole, because I think that's a real key theme of your story. And it's something that obviously it flipped the whole world upside down. And as you mentioned, there were people who were in far worse situations than you were, but that doesn't take away from how bad it was for you. You know, for someone who maybe lacks, you had a lot of self-belief, you know, you really had to generate that confidence again. If someone who really struggles to generate that confidence, you know, in a previous, I just did a solo episode where I just talked to the screen, and I talk about, you know, faith, and not necessarily faith in a higher being, but faith in yourself. And faith is kind of this thing that's unconditional belief. It's a belief that you have that's not tied to physical evidence or certain circumstances. You just have it no matter what. For someone who struggles to generate that unconditional belief, you know, it's too evidence-based for them. How would you advise them to go about their life building confidence and belief?
Yeah, well, first thing I would do is I wouldn't see everything as a whole, as we touched on. Put things in boxes. Control what you can control. So you're not focusing on the problem all the time, because that can just overwhelm you. You can just get absorbed in it. If you can see yourself, if you can see it, you can be it. You got to believe in yourself, and you'll believe in yourself more if you can educate yourself. Listen to podcasts like yours, Louis. Believe in yourself. Get yourself an education. So the more you're listening to or more reading, you will grow as a person. Greater the understanding, greater the appreciation. So immerse yourself, and even if it's just a little bit every day, just immerse yourself in something to learn. And the more you learn, the more you can talk about it. I could talk about property till the cows come home, unfortunately, for my friends. But wherever you want to go in life, just learn about it. Greater the appreciation, greater the understanding.
And the last question I want to ask you is, I have a fair interest in property, but it's not my thing. And there will be people listening today who probably are really interested in property and really want to go down that route. In short, what are your, let's say, 4 key things to focus on making success in property?
Making success in property. Number 1, you earn your money when you buy. I mentioned that earlier. So you've got to buy right. You've got to buy right. You can't get blinded by numbers, because property's big numbers. So you could get a spreadsheet. You can play around with stuff all till the cows come home. 30 flats at 300 grand, 9 million, whatever. Wow, that's amazing. But if you're making on a spreadsheet 400 or 500 grand, that's over 30 flats. That's 10, 15 grand a flat. It's nowhere near good enough for something that could go wrong. So you can't get blinded by numbers. You need to work with, that's the final one I'm going to come to, but the next one I'm going to say, you've got to understand your market. You must understand your market. So you can start by the town you grew up in, or the village, or whatever. Know every inch of the market, know what the best roads are, know what the values of properties are worth. Because in London, as you know, you can get different values on either side of the road. If you buy on the wrong side of the road, you could lose money if you just pay on the other side of the road. So there's that. And work with people. Work with people. You can't. It's hard to do it on your own. Work with people, make connections, talk to people, be open to them, because you could just be having a coffee and somebody says, "Oh, so-and-so's got something down the road." Just connect.
Paul, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been lovely. Thanks, Louis.